Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Glens Falls Board of Public Safety meeting, 4 o'clock, Wednesday, December 14th. I'd like to call the meeting to order. I assume everybody's got their packets in front of them. They've got them online. If not, we can give you a copy.
Thank you.
Number one is a resolution to approve the minutes of the November 9th, 2022 meeting of the Glens Falls Board of Public Safety meeting. Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Two is a resolution to approve the annual LARAC Festival in the city of Glens Falls to be held on June 17th and 18th, 2023, with the setup commencing on Friday, June 16th at 2023 at 8 a.m. Takedown finishing on Sunday, June 19th at 8 p.m. LARAC is requesting the closure of Maple Street and Bay Street from Citizens Bank to Glen Street, with the same strategic traffic plan that has been used in previous years. LARAC will provide the rest of the restroom facilities and will work with the DPW on items such as banners, refuse collection, and music staging in areas. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
There is a note. I just want to make sure that we're aware that the note of the porta potties, they're asking for, I know you probably saw their highlighted area there. Just wanted to make sure the noting
They
is
are.
noted.
We are working, we're working with LARAC and all outside organizations to redefine our system of process, like we're also doing it with encroachment permits. And so we will be asking, trying to figure out exactly what the support is. So you've just approved the event and what we've done in the past, but we might be going back and saying to them, hey, we need some help, maybe pay for the park so we can use that to pay for some DPW support, or help us, you pay for the porta johns because it may not support the number of people that we're at. We are hoping to get in the future more details on the numbers of people so that long before this reaches the Board of Public Safety, that we've looked at what the investment in time and energy is from the city's point of view and what we're paying in overtime. We're not ready to do it all yet, but I wanted you to know that that's coming down for all these events. I didn't want to hold up LARAC's approval, get them on the calendar, but the details of the event are probably will change and we'll come back to you if they do. Fair enough?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Three, under new business. We have a city constituent, Andrew Kopp, from landlord for the property of 10 to 12 Juvette Street in Glens Falls, attempted to apply for an encroachment permit to facilitate on-street parking for his tenants at that address. The situation is being discussed in the Special Projects Committee, but since the request was made, is being added to the list of people concerned with the lack of parking on what we're calling postage stamp properties within the city. Is Andrew with us? Hi, Andrew. Would you like to come over and address the Common Council
I've got
or
an
the
additional
Board of Public
for all of
Safety?
you as well.
Sure. Thank you.
I also got them on the screen.
How are you doing?
Yeah.
Look at that.
Very good.
Technology we've got.
So
In
much.
front of these, but
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
so I've included the Google Maps aerial view of two different properties. One is Juvette, which is the property I've recently purchased. The other is 153 Ridge, and the reason I've included that is because it's a similar property that an easement of this type has been granted for, and I wanted to show the immense similarities to the two situations. What I've highlighted in blue, on the lower image, the blue is where they have been approved to park, to the best of my belief. So the properties on Ridge, they've been given the ability to park on the closest side street, and I assume that was to not impede traffic on Ridge, which makes sense because it's an artery of our city. So what I've included on the top picture is kind of two proposals of where I think it would work. Directly in front of the house would be probably ideal. On 2nd Street maybe would be better because that street is significantly wider than Juvette Street, and it also isn't as much of an artery as a Ridge or a Bay or a Glen. So I've included a bunch of kind of just notes on there. The property is currently zoned R1B. It's grandfathered in as a 2-unit, as most of the, I probably 50% of the properties on the number streets and the various in-streets are grandfathered in as 2 or 3 families. The requirement for parking is 2 parking spots per each living dwelling in those. So this is an attempt to, I'm asking for an easement in an attempt to meet a zoning requirement. And realistically, I'm only looking to get 1 per. To give you a little description of the properties, they're both, it's a side-by-side duplex, and they're both 3-bed, 1-bath. On my initial proposal, I included a few pictures. I actually had the opportunity to do the rehab work on the unit on the right, and we feel we've made it, pretty nice, probably a B-, B+ property. The thing with 3-bedroom units is it's kind of the magic unit. I do a lot of renting and leasing through my business. I manage 50 apartments for 9 different clients, probably 60% in the city of Glens Falls, 40% Hudson Falls, Queensbury, local areas. The sweet spot with 3 bedrooms is you can have a room for the, the partnered couple, and then you can have a room for each gender of child. So you almost always, with 3 bedrooms, you're getting larger families, more unique situations. More unique situations always means a car for someone to go to work, to be an active member in society, to have the ability to pay rent, to not become a nuisance to the neighborhood and the city. And then kind of my mission in setting up these units, I'm not interested in being a slumlord. I'm not interested in perpetuating, negative property experiences. So my goal is to provide environments where tenants can come in at one level of financial stability, well-being, and they can leave better. So what I'm targeting with this unit, I've kept the rents low, $300 below the HUD rate for a 3-bedroom. I'm trying to get folks that don't have a car now, but would maybe want one in the future. And I'm trying to keep the rent low so that they can make that economic leap and eventually leave Juvit Street, go buy a house, and move along. So yeah, I mean, I'm very interested in your questions. I'm happy to give you address any of your concerns about whatever you may be thinking.
Bay is very narrow.
Juvit?
Juvay.
Juve, yeah. So I did a lot of the work there, and I spent some time during the day. What I can tell you is all I'm asking for is the opportunity to park there between the hours of 2 and 6 a.m. They already can park there during the day.
Yeah.
And they already, during the day is when those guys were driving through with trailers with asphalt things, and my truck on one side, and I don't know the neighbors' names, but the other neighbors on the other side, yeah, sometimes we have to go out and move our cars. But that situation already exists, and I actually think it is not as big of an issue in the wee hours of the morning.
Really? What about the plows?
Yeah, so I mean, that's going to be an issue wherever you have on-street parking. That's absolutely true. And that's why I suggested that maybe 2nd Street is a better option. But again, I know the plows come during the day as well, and they dodge cars everywhere. I also plow for, I know the game. I know the dodging. I plow for 27 properties in Glens Falls, and yeah, that's the story.
Did you happen to think of the fire trucks between 2 and 6 a.m.?
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, absolutely. There will be driving, and if there are 2 cars parked there, I mean, a fire truck can get by on the right. It's not so narrow. It is a 2-way street.
Well,
So let
just
me-
about, go ahead, Mary.
I just provide some information for you. We weren't really aware at the Common Council that we had allowed easements for people on what we're calling parking stamps that we, as upon.
And I don't believe that they're actually legal because there's no accommodation in code. So when these happen, they should be accommodated in code, just like one-way streets need to be accommodated in code. So there's a question about when these accommodations have been made, are they legal anyway, which is why the Special Projects Committee is looking at overnight parking.
That's right. And we, in doing that, we need to consider things that we've learned over time as we start to ask questions. We've had Chief Schrammel come and talk to us about neighborhoods that you would think, we've had people request, could we have parking on one side of the street? and what, Chief, you know, we were discussing, well, would we pick the left or the right? And then Chief Schrammels, and, you know, if there's a car parked on either side, I can't even make the turn onto that street, right? So we've learned that if we were to allow, overnight parking, there are certain streets that you would not allow it, without creating a safety hazard. Then we also looked at, there are, again, some easements that have been given, that nobody really knows. There's not a change in the law. It looks like we just did it and ignored our own, policy and code. And so we decided that we would not entertain anything new, that the Special Projects Committee would look at, overnight parking, trying to figure out what to do about these properties. Do we allow overnight parking with special permit, pay $1,000 and only under approved space? The question I have for you, if we had picked, if overnight parking was allowed by permit, and Second Street was deemed as appropriate, is the home that you're talking about with 12 Juvet, so if it was that, would the Second Street parking actually, is that part of the property of 12 Juvet, or is it just in between the other two properties that are on Second?
It's not. That lawn there is a double lot that is owned by the house on the left. And so long-term plans, what I would love to do is I would love to buy that lot, pave the whole thing. I just met with an electrical distributor, and I'd like to put in some car charging stations and make it a public lot that has 2 spots for the apartment I bought there. Yeah, but unfortunately, there are a lot of things that need to fall in line for that to happen. That lot is not for sale. I don't believe it's going for sale anytime soon. I'm a 30-year-old man, and I can plan on 20-year horizons.
Sure, yeah, great.
In the short term, I have some lower income tenants. They don't have the means to come in and talk to, you know, they're at work right now. They don't have the means to come in and talk to you folks. They need cars so that they can go. I know the neighbor next door is very uninterested in having another, he's uninterested in having another eviction on his hands. And unfortunately, that's what happens. People bite off more than they can chew. They think that they can do it without a car, and then they cannot.
Yeah.
The other thing here, and we have the police department, fire department represented, we had the board represented here, special projects. One main guy is the public works department, the superintendent.
Yep.
Tom Gerard. Okay, I'm sure he has plenty of input.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
About plowing and so forth.
And
I wouldn't begin to approve anything myself without hearing from
And
him.
actually, that's a good point, because that's what I was gonna state, that, and he's been in here, we've done this before.
Tom has come before and spoken about this,
Sure.
but
Sure.
what he thinks.
And any person who's ever led a DPW has been against it fully.
I know.
One of the reasons is, and I know you're saying that the plows are there during the day and evening, but what they do is they schedule their staff in the evening to do complete road clearing. So often they plow during the day and they realize they're gonna have areas that they missed, going around cars. So, they, through scheduling purposes, because there's no cars on the road in the evening, that's when they schedule their staff on overtime to come in and make sure
Exactly.
that the roads in the city are completely cleared. They've done that for years.
So I have another route that I can take, but I was advised to not suggest it. But that front porch, I build porches for a living. That front porch is not to a standard that I necessarily am happy with. I would like to take it off. It's not quite big enough to fit a regular sedan. There probably would be some hangover onto the sidewalks. It would not be into the street, but it would block some of the sidewalk. And I was
You're
told to
welcome
not
to-
suggest
yeah.
that because
Well,
you
you're
would
welcome to
immediately-
bring that up in front of the planning board, but you're right, what they're gonna do is
Turn it
look
down.
at the total property, empty space you have on the lot, based on the building, and then they're gonna approve or deny that. It sounds to me like they deny it, but I don't wanna speak for the planning board. You're welcome to try that. Right now, I can tell you that the city in general, the common council, has decided to not approve any new, what Councilman Lapham determined, you know, illegal. We're just not approving any easements. We do appreciate it. We
Well, I
do
guess-
appreciate that you bought a property that doesn't have any parking on it. We know it's a difficulty. We know that other, people that have properties such as this have negotiated deals with neighbors, regarding using their, paying to use their driveways, and it's a burden that we don't like or enjoy, and we do know that this lowers the property value. But right now, we've got this committee starting to look at this. They just finished, the project, which was our taxi cab reviews. And so now they can start to focus their attention on it. I've asked, Bob Curtis, because of his knowledge of past code, to join and be part of the committee so that he could help us as we look at parking. And I think that, I don't know this, I don't wanna speak for Mary, the chair of the committee, but I think they're gonna look at overnight parking first. They've actually had Tom in, and he said exactly what you said, and that is tough, because it's a complete change, right? When you're looking at, but we've gotta do something, but we just aren't ready to do anything right now. But the point is that DPW is never gonna vote, in a positive way, because they've never had to deal with the things that other DPWs do, right? If you're the city of Albany and you have parking on the left or the right-hand side, you always are planning on another day. You plow on your first day of your storm, you plow whatever side is, if it's left side, you plow on the left. You come back as everybody moves over to the right, then you plow the right. That would almost double
They still
our
get plowed
entire
in.
pay. They
Yeah.
still get plowed in, there's still a mess, and it doubles your cost of it. That's cost that we don't have right now. So, but we need to figure something out, and that's what the committee will look at and come back with recommendations regarding, right? And so,
And we've had other landowners of these very small properties who are looking for something.
that's right.
And we do wanna have some kind of solution, in order to, provide parking, because we know we have a parking problem.
So, in the short term, what is the feedback that I give to the tenants that are currently living there and trying to, just live their lives and engage as productive members of Glens Falls society? What do I tell them?
The property that they rented doesn't have any parking at it.
Yeah.
And that they need
Yeah.
to speak to their neighbors, see if they can do it.
They do that when they can.
They did, and I mean, what I can ultimately tell you is, like, an outcome like that, it's really not going to impact me personally. I'm gonna find a tenant, I'm gonna get him in there, it might take me a little longer, whatever. I will find someone that can get into the house, but it is going to impact those tenants. It is going to impact the folks that live on Juvet Street. It is absolutely going to impact them. It's going to influence my ability to maintain the exterior of the property, and that's the way it goes. Like, if I can't find a way to make the property work, then the property isn't gonna work.
Right.
And but I personally, I was asked in some of my prep meetings for this, I was asked, what is your hardship? My hardship will be minimal, but it will be a hardship for other folks. And I think that that's unfortunate, and I know it's not just my property. My wife owns Abby's Cookie Jar. Parking is the story,
Yeah.
in the whole city.
We're in agreement. We're looking at the entire parking. We agree with you that it's a parking problem, although when I proposed that we build a new parking garage on corner of, on Elm Street, I was told by business owners there was no parking problem. And we're in agreement with you. Yeah, we actually did.
And
We knew that you
invite
were-
members of the community at the Park Street Theater
Yeah.
when you're
Yeah. No, that's-
updating the DRI.
That's right, yeah, we're in agreement, so we do appreciate it, we are addressing it, if they can hold on.
Excuse me, Mayor, you've been interrupted.
Sorry, that's all
Go ahead, Mr. Lapham, apparently you have the floor.
I'm just telling you when the next meeting for the special projects.
It's okay, the mayor's speaking though, first. I'm sorry, this is the Board of Public Safety, go ahead, Mayor.
right. It's fine, we're good, we do appreciate it, it's a tough,
We'll try.
it is tough,
That's the best thing
we
we
are
can do.
definitely looking at it, and
Yeah.
his committee is the one that, the committee that Ben's on is definitely looking at it, and we do agree that it's
We
a
appreciate
problem.
your efforts
We do.
and buying property in the city,
Look,
thank
we
you.
want you there.
Yeah.
I would like to, I live in the city I work in,
Yeah.
so
I
I
know, I
can't
do
be
too.
a
Yeah.
dirtbag,
Yeah,
so.
no.
We all do.
Nobody's.
I mean,
saying-
I'll leave with this too. I'm an Army, New York National Guardsman. I'm an
Yeah.
engineer. We get called to go to Buffalo. I'm not a stranger to moving snow. I'm not a stranger to doing it on public streets. I also am not a stranger to, you know, DPW folks complaining about what they can and can't do, but I believe in the Glens Falls DPW. I think that they'll be able to figure it out if we as the people task them to do it.
Oh, they will. There's no
I
doubt.
have
Thank
every faith
you.
in their
Oh,
ability.
yeah, they
Thank
do.
you.
But it would,
While you're here, Mr. Kopp, how long have you owned this property?
So I'm under contract to buy it. I'll take possession in the next 2 weeks.
Okay, is it occupied now?
One side is occupied, the other side is ready for a tenant immediately.
And that's the one that you
That is the one that I renovated and has been held vacant until,
Right.
I mean, I'm in some initial conversations with some tenants about taking it, you know,
So you need 2 parking spaces.
that's it, just two parking space. I'm happy to take them on Second Street. I'm happy to take them on Juvet. I'm happy to, if someone has a contact with the laundromat on the corner of South and Second,
Tom Thompson.
Sure.
I would love to have a conversation with him. I know money can maybe solve some problems faster than the public process can.
Mr.
I'm happy to
Hanson.
spend a little, but ultimately, to be backed in a corner is tough. That's tough, and I'm willing to take basically any option.
there's also the Murray Street, the radiation, where you go for
Yeah, that's
MRIs
for
and
sale,
stuff, in
actually.
through there, and there's another
It's a big
doctor's
parking lot
area
there.
there that I'm sure they're not used, you know, from
Well,
the
and
2,
that,
the
see,
2
but
to
that's the
6
issue
a.m.
is, you know, I know that you guys don't want to break any rules and you don't want to give a easement
No.
because you think it's illegal, but the advice then
It's
is
not
my
that we think
tenant.
it's illegal.
No, I'm asking, I'm,
No.
But then
That's- you're
the
wrong.
onus is on my tenants to go find,
It's not in the code. It's not in the
No,
code.
No,
the
the
onus is
onus
then on my
is-
tenants to go get creative.
no,
We
I'm,
think
I'm
it's
asking
illegal.
you to take the onus to
That's
contact
what
these
I'm saying.
people for
We know
your
what you're
How's it
tenants.
legal if it's not in code?
We're not
For your
saying, I'm
tenant.
saying, he said, we are making a decision, it's illegal to give grant
That's
in.
what I heard.
That's what I said, yeah.
that's what Ben said. Yep.
Yeah.
Let us,
Well,
thank you. Did you?
I appreciate your time. Sure.
No problem.
It sounds, so private sector is where I'm gonna solve this problem.
That's what I'm thinking
Yeah,
you
yes,
should do.
temporary.
My experience, I rented an apartment
Mhm.
with no parking area. I found a business 2 blocks away that charged me a small fee. Did I like walking 2 blocks in the morning and at night? No, but it certainly solved my problem. And I knew going in to rent the apartment that there was no parking. And I individually found a place to park my car, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
yeah,
my tenants will figure it out. However,
Yeah.
I did want to,
yeah.
I
Well,
know
thank
it has
you.
been approved in the past.
We
I
appreciate
did, I
it.
did pay for that other parking place too.
Sure.
I can tell you, Mr. Goff, so I'll explain myself. What I'm saying is, I'm not opposed to you trying to get a parking spot, okay? Whether it's legal or illegal at this point. What I'm trying to say is that this board and the special projects is trying to find a way for you and everybody else who wants to do that. So I'm not taking a negative position, and I don't think anybody else on this board is. Does that explain it?
It does. That's not the vibe I got, but I like what you're saying.
Well, I think Bob was saying is we basically have a pause
Yeah.
Right.
at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until,
We're not.
until the special projects
Right.
committee comes up with
They
some
supersede us.
parameters.
The
What I
county.
was
Right.
hoping is that while we wait,
Yeah.
we could have some relief.
Yeah. And we can't,
Okay.
Not right now.
but thank you.
Thank you, though.
That's a good request.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
the special projects meetings at 2 PM on December 10th.
Are you taking, is it public?
Yes. It's,
December
second floor.
20th?
Yep,
10 p.m.,
2 PM.
2 p.m., okay? Thank you, sir.
No
Thanks.
problem.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
I move we table this
That's
item.
okay.
Thanks, Sue. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next is Fourth Ward Councilman Lapham has requested that Glens, New York State License and Event Notification System, be added to the discussion. It applies to the revision of the Chapter 198 and 208 taxi cab vehicle law. Lens is an automated reporting system. We use Lens, don't we, Chief Smith, for our we use Lens to run background checks on our employees? No?
I've never heard of them. Yes, our employees, are tracked through Lens,
Gotcha, Judy does it.
through personnel.
What do we do, chief, for the taxi cab drivers?
We just run their driver's license through Justice to make sure they have a valid e-license. And we conduct a small, background before we approve their application for a taxi cab license.
Does that also give their driving record? Okay. So what's Lens?
So this, Glens is an emergency notification system, so if the status of their license is to change, it'll flag that particular driver.
Or if it's about to change.
Yeah.
So like Lens, if you're about to be suspended because of an unpaid ticket, it'll tell you that Lens, you get a notice in Lens saying that in 2 weeks, your license will be suspended and you'll get a ticket. And that, I know that Judy gets those.
We do get them here?
Yes.
Good.
Great.
Is that for all city
For employees, yeah. Any employee that's registered to drive a city vehicle is in Lens.
Great. And Chief, now that we've changed the taxi cab law, can you explain a little bit what the plan would be for, because and please forgive me if I'm misstating something, but I can have you clarify, that's why I'm stating what I think I know, and it's only what I think I know. That as it currently is, the taxi cabs have been required to have a business operating in Glens Falls, where they need to rent for usually their dispatch.
Correct.
And that we've waived that in this new law so that we can help them to stay in business and not create a requirement that is onerous on them. That, you know, the fact is that law was written back when you needed a
Landline.
yeah, landline, and yeah, I mean, now, it doesn't matter where they do the dispatch, right? And so we're doing that to help them. It was at the request of several different of our cab companies saying this isn't, this fee or this cost is prohibiting us from making a living and running a business. So as a result, what were we thinking, how would we implement the piece where we inspect the cars and I think once a year, can you tell me about that process, what we do for their drivers and their cars?
We inspect all licensed companies in the city. We inspect all their taxis once a month. So before we would go to the the stand where the dispatch was, it said, you know, we're inspecting your vehicles, you know, meet us in the South Street lot, and every driver at that time that was on duty will come to the South Street lot. So that was done once a month.
Okay.
Now we'll just have to contact companies and do the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we could also, and what do we do for the taxi cab drivers that this might affect? What do we do for them and how often do we do it?
So at the same time, the driver's license is run, to make sure that they don't have any suspensions, that it's not expired, along that lines. And if they are, then they receive a ticket for it.
You would do that monthly when you do the thing?
Yes.
Okay. So I believe there's a resolution here that in addition, that before Chief Smith does his monthly check of those drivers, he could ask our head of human resources to run those names or to add them to the notification system that she currently has. And therefore you just would be notified and then you would be looking for Johnny Johnson if Johnny's license is expired and you'd know it better. Is that fair?
Is that what
Is that
that is?
reasonable?
Yep.
Is there a motion to make such a change in the procedure?
I'll make a motion.
A
Actually,
second.
The police department can actually have Lens part of your system, and you can get notified directly. So it doesn't have to be personnel.
Gotcha.
In other words,
Sorry.
Any
Great.
municipal person, makes more sense to put it in the police chief's office or somebody in his office, so automatically when any of the taxi drivers, anything happens to their license whatsoever, they get a Lens notification immediately.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion as such?
Motion and second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That
Thank
should take
you.
some of the burden off of checking every month too.
Yeah,
Well, we still have to inspect the
Yeah.
vehicles.
who runs that, Ben? Who runs
So
it?
New York State.
Oh, nice, great,
So it's just linked into DMV.
good,
Yeah, good.
great.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yes. Under old business, I wanted to let you know that, that I was able to meet, Chief Smith and I met with, the superintendent of Glens Falls Public Schools. It was, to find out, Councilman Lapham, and we've had several conversations about the, about the traffic concerns, right? That they actually, the middle school was sending children out one of the side, to some of the side streets to alleviate some of their traffic concerns. I didn't really, wasn't aware of those traffic concerns. They had, done a circulation study years ago. They had some plans, they've adjusted their plans, and they had been working with our police officer, Norton, who's there every morning, but had not really adjusted those plans in a way that that they found it helpful. And so they, I think independently, reasonably, they were using Officer Norton, they were sharing information from him, but I also think they thought it's probably best to just send the middle schoolers there, and weren't thinking about the problem that might, a secondary problem that might and appears to have caused. So they it was the new superintendent was very great, very nice, polite, and asked us to work with them to apply to the Adirondack Glens Falls Transportation Council. Sorry, I'm struggling over my words. She said that she would very much appreciate that. I've since coming back had met with Aaron Frankenfeld, and we've made that formal. And so it's a very good step in the right direction. They actually, the woman that was there, her assistant, is the person dressed up. She dresses up as a traffic cone, and is manipulating traffic as best she can. And Chief Smith, were you gonna add some help to her just to temporarily while we have this problem?
So I've been in contact with the school since. I have been able to maneuver my crossing guards. Starting January 17th, there will be a full-time crossing guard at that location. I sent him out there. I sent Mark, who actually worked downstairs. I sent him out there for a week and a half to do the crossing and to take pictures and count everything. He sent me the reports, and definitely a need in the afternoon. The mornings are not an issue because the drop-offs are staggered. People, parents are constantly dropping kids off, so it's not as much as a congestion. Afternoons for about 15 minutes, it's a nightmare, and he definitely needs to
It's
wait
insane.
at that crossing. So that's been taken care of.
Great. So there's the short-term solution is the addition of a afternoon crossing guard, and then the long-term is to do the traffic study. And then I believe when the study's done, that we should work with the Transportation Council and the chief and the superintendent to really have I believe we're gonna need a different approach. I think that there were in the last circulation study, there were recommendations made that I don't believe the school ever implemented, and I say that with the understanding that I don't know, right?
It
I wasn't-
definitely is, because there's recommendations to put in a new road to cut in closer to the school in the green space.
Right.
So that's definitely something that was not.
That was their high recommendations.
Yeah.
They did it for all schools, Jackson Heights, so I remember that study very well.
Right. So I think that we need to then work on an implementation plan of what we're gonna do with them. I think that, having parents, and I think that, like, especially in that first 6 months or whatever they decide to do, that we should encourage the school to utilize some of the family members to help us with this. That I don't think we can hire safety crossing guards to solve this long-term problem, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. I just want you to know that I believe that we're going to need an implementation plan that's comprehensive, that includes the community's assistance, because it's a lot, right? You got 2 middle school and a high school all converging, and that the plan's gonna need some support from the community. At least that's my opinion, not having seen the plan. I just want you to know that that's where I think we need to make sure that we help. Because, and also, we're gonna instruct the AGFTC to help us with, which I think they've done, in my conversations with them, I said to them, we need to think about a realistic plan, right? Or a temporary plan. If it calls for massive road change, right, and it's multi-million-dollar project, we need time to implement that, and the funds, right? We'd have to apply and try to find it. So in the meantime, to have a series of findings and a plan to implement the findings when we're done. So wanted you to know that's where we were headed.
That's great, thank
Okay?
you, thank you.
Yes.
I would say also part of that, when they do that study, that they also study what the impacts are gonna be when there's, lights on over there for sporting events. Because that's gonna change some of the traffic patterns as well, and that can be a very big safety issue.
I agree. I think being involved when that all was going down before with the lights, it would be, I believe, in the fall for football.
Yeah.
That's the only time that I believe we would be dealing
Well,
with
there's-
that, but I don't know.
There's,
I don't know.
once the lights are up, then it opens up the opportunity to do different kind of, sport event tourism. So then you have
Like
a field over there, maybe you have lacrosse tournaments and things like that, so.
Into the
bands,
evening.
Yeah, yeah,
Battle of
Thank you.
bands,
yeah, exactly,
Right? Awesome.
Sectional games can be held
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
money.
That's
That's
a
right.
money maker.
yeah,
Absolutely.
okay,
So that's
Great.
why I'm saying.
good point,
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
okay.
Next on the agenda, for old business, so did you get a chance to look at the manual that I passed
Yes,
out?
yes.
And pretty cool, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, it is.
All right. And so I'd like to suggest, I think the Cooper and Maple Street had been decided, so are we all in agreement that we know, and I think that request has gone to, so first let's just talk about that. Is that's done, right? We've
Yeah.
decided to do
We
it,
talked about it.
and we've asked Superintendent Gerard to, specifically to put, is it a crosswalk or a stop block? I'm sorry.
So we're moving.
Yeah,
Don't
sorry.
lose my
Move
language.
the-
Moving the stop sign.
Move the
Stop
stop
sign.
sign, okay. So, is everybody okay with that decision? Everybody comfortable with it?
As I recall, there were very few, if any, accidents there.
Yeah, there
No.
was one accident in the last 7 years.
Yeah, one accident.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So
Thank
I would suggest that in the future, that we use the document, and this is just a suggestion for your consideration. That let's say this Board of Public Safety meeting, somebody says, I've got a concern with this street. And if it's an unsafe situation, let's say the folks from Grave Street came back to us and said, hey, we should do this. What I would suggest is that the process be that we listen to the concern, we then table it. We ask the chiefs to both look at the situation and assess it with this in mind, and we ask you. And then we come back to the next meeting, and the chiefs give us a report on their assessment of it. You can then weigh in, and then we'll pass a resolution
Exactly.
and use that as our guiding document moving
I
forward.
like-
Is everybody okay
Yeah,
with that?
yeah, it's the smartest thing to do.
Great.
So we need a resolution. for
I
that.
don't think we do. I think it's just a process by which we, it's
Just hang on to
suggested.
this and use it as a reference source
Yeah.
Well,
All the
that's why
time.
I'm
for
going-
anything
yeah.
that comes along.
That's right.
Fascinating.
Instead of what we remember about the street and 3 years ago,
Did
and,
you say remember?
yeah, I know, yeah, very good.
But
Everybody okay?
The other thing is,
Yeah.
if we're talking about these situations, is to take and put it up on that screen.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So we can see that, because this here is good. I would have liked a couple more pictures, because it's just showing the house. It's not showing the street.
That's
down-
right, yeah,
You know, down the way, but, man, that really helps.
I agree.
That's,
I mean, I know some of these places, but I
yeah,
don't
So-
thank you.
know them all.
So I'll ask Chip if you'd help me write that procedure up, which includes, so when somebody has a street,
Yeah.
that we ask them for that information, we
Can
ask
you
them for the
Google that?
videos.
Can we Google
Yeah,
that?
no, I Googled it. Whenever I see
Do
something,
anything.
I do the agenda, so when I put it on the agenda, I'll just make a point to bring that up and get it preloaded.
Who makes the display up there? Who
It's-
makes that? Is
It's
that you?
Google.
Google.
Google does that?
Yeah, Google Maps.
Yeah.
Where's that, a laptop?
Yeah, it's a laptop that's connected to the street.
Oh, okay.
And you
Oh,
can
I
actually
see,
turn
yeah.
around in that, right, Chip? Can you show us that real quick?
Yeah, you can actually watch.
You can actually stand there and look at any part of that street you want.
Yeah, Google
Goes
Earth.
right around.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's awesome. So, okay, so let's make that part of it, that
Yeah.
we look at it, we give everybody, we try to figure out what the situation is, and then we move forward.
So he has to be in the command center. Command
That's
center.
it.
And I'd like to, if I
We can
could,
go down
Mayor,
the street, we can
There
look
you
at
go.
everything, we can look at the, go down there if you wanna
Yeah,
look at
pretty
the stop
down.
signs.
it's a very.
But anyways, that don't get you anywhere, just by putting in the address, it gets you here. Well, obviously, we're looking at this house before where he was requesting the parking.
What's this first, that yellow house, is that his?
No,
Or that
this
one,
one
the white
is.
one?
This
that-
one right
the
here,
white
this
one
is, this is the one, that's 10 to 12 right there, that was the one that
Yeah.
gentleman, Mr. Koff was here talking about.
Yes,
So, he said the right one is filled, and he's trying to rent this one over there, but it's a fairly thin street, it could be an issue, especially when you get these side bank, or the snowbanks out in there, I know they're.
Too bad the
It's a
neighbor, the
problem.
neighbor next door doesn't let him use part of the lawn for one of the,
yeah.
well, I'm
I
just
was over
saying.
there
that
today,
if you
and
had-
it is very narrow.
You see
Yeah,
that?
they got
Yeah.
one spot there, but it does, like you're saying, it helps, you can take a look at it and see.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
In this process, is there any way we could, if we had an item on our agenda,
Uh-huh.
that we could have Tom here that meeting? Rather
I would
than,
like to hear
rather
from
than
Tom.
talk about it
Yeah.
and then have Tom's input
Yes.
4 weeks later?
Sure.
Yeah.
So you
In my
add.
mind, he's,
Well,
No, absolutely.
I'm with Bob
Yep.
on that.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm
If
with
he,
you.
if he can,
You-
can
you-
make it.
You absolutely do. You want it to understand the total impact. And-
Absolutely.
But at the same time, let's give an example. We want him, first let me just agree with you. Yeah, so we have somebody come, we look at the sidewalk, or we look at the area that their concern is. We table it, we all look at what we can find out, we ask the two chiefs. We can also ask Tom to weigh in on it. Come to the next meeting and weigh in on that, and then you'll make a decision.
Absolutely.
I'm with you.
I think
But
the
we
key-
also need to be very careful that we don't allow our principles to be determined by the concerns of the DPW. Because we asked Tom about overnight parking. So Tom's smart and he's doing his job. His job is to keep our streets clean and to plow those streets and to be able to get down them, right? Just like Chief Schrambles is to put out fires, or Chief Smith's to, but at the same time, he's always, if we ask him to on that, he's always gonna say no overnight parking. Cause he never would have he's got an easy, his world is gonna be made harder whenever we
Right,
decide.
Yeah, I
And
wouldn't use,
so-
I wouldn't use the word easy for what they do now.
No, you're right, but it's
They're-
much easier
they're
than
used
if
to
there
it.
was overnight
They
parking.
have a system
They
in
are
place.
used to it, they're over, and it's going to cost us money if we change it, and we do need to consider that. But so we need his input, but we can't let that guide the thing, right? We can't, we have to look at, like, I think that where the committee's gonna work towards is that we say that these properties can, for a yearly amount, that we find a place, a public part of a street, that they could park safely, based on the knowledge that we have of safety,
I like
and that they pay $1,000,
Make some money.
yeah.
$1,000 a year. And that they're responsible for during, that they sign a contract that says on those snowy nights that they've moved their car or that we tow them. Because we do need to make sure they're moved, but we'll let the council subcommittee make some recommendations, you come back and look at them and make sure we're safe.
The
Yes?
other issue is a quality of life issue for the neighbors.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
something that's never been addressed.
That's right.
And right there, looking at that house, 2 parking spots, they're not parking in front of their house.
No,
They're parking in front of somebody else's house.
exactly.
So, these things, so the reason people don't live in Albany and they don't live in Schenectady where they gotta move their cars, and they live in Glens Falls is a quality of life issue.
Okay.
So if we're gonna change it to Schenectady and Albany, then you gotta be ready for that.
That's right.
Because right now, people live in Glens Falls because of the quality of life that
That's
Glens
right.
Falls brings. In that circumstance, you can put one car in front of the house, where's the other car going? It's
Yeah.
going
But I
in front of
think,
somebody else's
I
house.
agree, Jamie, but
So,
That's
these
a
are
big
the
issue.
these are the issues that I think that, the reason it hasn't been done all these years, and the reason it's been brought up to these meetings since I've been here 32 years. And the reason it's not happened is because eventually it's going to affect somebody's quality of life, and it's usually the neighbors in these
Yeah.
apartment buildings,
Yeah.
where these people live.
That's correct. So,
But
so we got.
we're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
We're,
We're
you know,
looking.
we're trying to find a solution to
That's-
this.
that's
and,
correct.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
That's right.
Okay?
And we need input from everyone, including DPW. We'd be remiss if we didn't.
And I think if we
Right.
keep Board of Safety in mind versus convenience
There you go.
for
Yeah.
few.
You wanna?
Well,
Safety,
yeah.
safety for
Safety,
all,
absolutely.
Yeah,
safety
Yeah.
for all versus convenience for
right.
few.
I mean, that is the purpose of our board,
Yeah,
safety.
that's without a doubt, right? And that's why, again, like when I was thinking that it was a good idea to approve parking on the left side of Baldwin. Until, gee, I know it wasn't the name of the street, but I don't know which one it was, Mason.
You were
Right?
close.
Was it Mason, right? And, right, until you start looking at the thing, and then so when the committee starts to look at it, there's all these exceptions
Yeah.
that they're gonna need to consider, and there just may not be an option for everyone, even the ones who wanna pay for the permit. And people are gonna be upset about that too, so it's, but, you know, we shouldn't not look at it just because they're gonna be upset at the mayor.
Yeah.
But it is, it's quality of life, and
Yeah.
people are used to what they're used to. And I think most people, if they got to vote, would say, tough with this guy. He knew when he was buying it, and that's not fair either. That's,
It hasn't even closed yet.
that's right, yeah, he shouldn't even represent it until he's paid for the building. Anyway, thank you, it's great, it's a great process to be part of, it's a lot of work, and, we'll make sure we get input from everyone. Next is Chief Smith's report.
Wait.
Yes, sorry.
Time out.
Is there any other
I apologize.
old
No,
business?
we were on the traffic, and then we were gonna go to the next area. The
Yeah,
ne- the next, intersection of Park and Elm, correct? Weren't we?
Were we
you-
looking at that?
We did. Am I the only
It
one?
was
You're
the
all-
Elizabeth Miller complaint.
You're all looking at me, yeah.
Very good. Oh, all
Yeah,
right, I forgot.
yeah,
Thank you.
Yes,
All
no,
right.
that area, because I did spend some time over there, I did read this, and God heaven help me, I could never pass any of your exams, Chief Smith, on comprehending all of this legal laws and parking and signs and everything, and, I did
Thank you. That
read
was
it.
the property, I forgot, I
Yeah,
knew
that-
there was another one, didn't I?
Yeah.
I knew there was another one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did read this, and I am not a police officer. I do not understand any of this, and I'm saying that right up front.
There you go.
I read all this, and, regarding that intersection.
Particular intersection.
Yes, and to either put a yield, because it's almost, when you sit there, which I have been, and watch, there's not a lot of foot traffic going across right now.
Right.
Now, understandably. However, there's not a lot of foot traffic there's nowhere to go. You cross the road and either you're walking to the hospital from one of the eateries down there, and you are on Park Street, so obviously a car would see you if you were crossing at that intersection.
Okay.
So I don't see the sense in putting a crosswalk there. I don't see the sense in that, but all of this stuff about yield signs, and it tells you the pedestrian has the right of the way and it has a yield, but I was looking at Park, that if you would put a crosswalk, it would be across Park to slow the cars coming from Glen Street onto Park to turn right. Put the crosswalk that way. The cars would, that way, make a difference. Ambulance going through though, I don't know what you do. I mean, I can't see them stopping, but I imagine they would have to if there was someone there, but I don't see the sense of it. I read this, I reread it, and I
So-
reread it before I came, but for a sign or anything, and I don't know how we could protect anybody, really, Mayor, from stepping off that sidewalk right there onto Elm.
So am I hearing you say that you don't think if we put across, one of the suggestions of the,
They asked for a
the
crosswalk.
person, I asked for a crosswalk across Elm Street at where Maple hits Elm. And they did that.
Maple and Elm Park.
Park and Elm,
Park,
sorry,
Park,
thank
yeah.
you, Park and Elm. So that's what the request was. So the first question regarding that is it legal to put a pedestrian crosswalk in to slow the traffic down? Because they're not saying we should put it in because there's a lot of walking. They're saying that people are coming off of Glen and
Right.
coming around quickly
Too
and they're
quickly.
going too fast.
Yes.
So that's, my first question is that. Chief, do you have an opinion on that?
My opinion is that if you're using, traffic control devices, which a crosswalk would be, to slow traffic, it's the same idea as putting a stop sign in to slow traffic.
You
Okay.
can't do that.
So, is there anything else that, and for an intersection like this, so it's a T, and they describe different intersections, is there anything else that could be done to slow traffic? Is there anything that suggests what our steps, or what our options are, what the legal options or the right options are that might slow traffic there?
Wasn't the issue east-west
Yes.
on Park?
Yes.
It wasn't north-south.
Right.
on Elm.
Coming off Glen on
The
the
issue
corner
was speed,
and
Yeah.
turn right onto Elm.
so we're back to the same,
It's
service.
east,
the
west,
same
and Elm.
question, right? You put a crosswalk or you put a stop sign, you can't do it.
You can't do it.
You would be able to put, watch out for pedestrians, warning signs. Those will not those will go on the sidewalk,
Okay, we could do.
would be a city issue as well.
So that is legal to put a slow pedestrian sign somewhere on Park
Sure.
as you're coming off of Glen. right?
Or a yield to
Or a yield to
pedestrian.
pedestrian sign, sorry.
That's okay,
Um,
no, I mean,
Oh, it's very specific, yeah. What else could this board consider? Are speed bumps, I'm not suggesting we do it, I'm asking what the options are, I guess I really am, because I don't wanna be invested in any one thing. I just wanna understand what the options are.
Why don't we let this see what happens? Why don't we try this suggestion and maybe come back and revisit it and have it monitored and see what happens?
You mean the yield to pedestrian sign?
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, at least we can try to do something here.
At least start with that.
Yeah, let's start with that and let's take a look
There's,
at if it has some sort of impact here.
They had the yield to pedestrian with arrows. I don't know how we would do that, but I think that, you could let them, maybe if it's, around the corner, yield to pedestrian, but they have a whole thing here for
What
the
the
yield to
options are to
pedestrian.
sign.
Yes, yeah,
There's a bunch of different ideas on traffic calming in general
Yeah.
that we should probably.
well,
take
we
a
have the
look
thing
at.
here that tells you how and when we can use it, and
Right?
what the
Yeah.
There's
laws
things you
are.
can do with like painting things differently, there's things that you can do with putting like bump outs, to slow traffic down.
You know,
Not right on that corner, I think that would narrow that corner way too much a bump out, but,
But I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah,
as
right,
for
right.
instance.
Those are other things, right?
right.
Can we try
But
that?
I think this would be
A first step?
Yeah.
See
that's
if
what
it
I
works.
think.
Let's try
Mayor,
that.
I don't know.
And if it doesn't, then we could consider other traffic calming measures. And if we did that and there was a cost, that might be one of the only things that I've really heard from, John, who's met with this committee from the hospital. Like,
Right.
there's not a lot of money in that grant, but there is money for traffic calming things for this. So, please do me a favor and look at this. Do we have a motion to start with this as a first step?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
We're placing a yield pedestrian
Placing a
sign
yield
where?
pedestrian
On
sign
Park Street,
on
where though?
Park Street.
To
Yeah, I can send that out. around
Park
to,
Street
Chip,
westbound.
and Chip can send it out.
Park Street
Okay.
For
on
next
west,
yeah,
I think you would need one on both.
Do you?
On both sides?
You have people.
yes,
coming off of Pleasant, onto Elm, on the park, to get to Glen, and it's a circle. And you have
Yeah.
people coming from the other, the opposite way.
So we need one
I would
on,
say put one
on Elm South
Elm Street.
and Park West.
Sounds good.
I would say the people coming up Hudson is higher than the number of people coming up Glen,
Yeah.
personally.
Oh, no
They take
kidding?
it right on Hudson, and they take it right on Glen.
Right.
Yes, they do.
Oh, you think
So
he's
we're
got
just
that?
placing
piece
one
right
on
to
Elm.
worry
By
about?
traffic light or anything.
I follow
Take it
people do
right
that
on-
today.
Right on Hudson or right on Glen.
Yeah.
Do you think on Elm then, is that what we're thinking?
Where do you
One
wanna
on
put
Elm.
it?
I'm thinking it.
And one on
I
Park.
agree with the chief, I think you have to do them both.
I would do what, I would.
Well, that's what we're saying.
do West side of Elm,
Okay.
and then you would do the north side of the park.
Correct, yeah.
And can you follow up with Superintendent Gerard?
We'll do.
Thank you. I know he'll see the minutes, and do you send notice to that and when
I
this is
send
all
the
done?
resolution to DPW,
You
so
do?
it'll go to
Okay.
their mailing list.
Great, thank you.
And then do we wanna just make a motion on this? I know we,
Yep.
just because we changed some things.
I think, do we need to make a motion on
Okay.
this, please?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks, thank you.
Done.
Any other old business? New business, Chief Smith's report.
The only thing I had under new business for my report was the crossing at Grant and Austin, which has already been covered. And then under old business, Emily and I were speaking about the last meeting is the board approved 4 signs to be put up at Quaid and Sherman, just on the posts that are already there, just for the students and pedestrians to be able to read. I have those signs downstairs. It wasn't clear last meeting who was paying for that. The crossing guard has already paid for it. We have those invoices.
Oh, right, I'm sorry, I need,
Wow.
she gave me, I'm supposed to give a resolution, I forgot.
I knew he was gonna bring it up, so
There
I
we
figured
go.
I wouldn't say anything until then.
Awesome. So,
He does a great job.
we,
He does.
Yeah.
He really does.
Oh, yeah.
so, Chief, where, could this come, when you say who's paying for it, you mean which account?
Correct.
And do you have a request or what would be the normal thing here?
I would just like to reimburse.
Yeah.
Ms. Pollard.
Do you have money in your budget
I
under
could probably find
traffic?
$160, yes.
Yeah, all right.
But it wasn't put into the minutes last year, or last week.
No,
so
last week, so
month.
can we put this that, I have a resolution to approve a reimbursement in the amount of $159.89 from the, police account to Mark Poverelli for the purchase of 3 pedestrian signs placed at the intersection of Sherman and Quaid Street. Do we have a motion?
I'll move that.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
maybe give him a big thank you also for doing this from the board.
And he's the one that's going to be doing the Austin and Grant in the afternoon.
Oh, great, good.
I see him every morning.
Well, that's all I have for my report. I do have a quick executive session request.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank
We
you,
have a
Chief.
motion to accept Chief's report.
so moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Before
Chief-
Chief Schrimmel comes up, which he's on his way, I would like to commend him, please, from the board, for just bringing the awareness of what's out there to our attention. He's always so ready, prepared, knowledgeable, obviously has a good memory, God bless his
They're
wife.
gonna be with us a long time.
Yeah, but I truly appreciate, I truly appreciate it, Chief.
Yes,
I
I
do.
agree.
Yeah, Chief,
Yeah.
how you've helped us.
Congratulations. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Report.
He paid us to say that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
We're having a lot of money now.
Yes, sir, yeah. Chief
Okay.
Schrammel's report.
Quickly, just 2 quick items, and they're both about, actually academies and people coming back. So Aaron Barney graduates this, Friday from, the fire academy. So he will be coming back and going to work, which is good. We can use the extra bodies, extra body, I should say. And then Lieutenant Ordway and Fogarty go to first line school. So we lose 2 more to go to school. And they go on January 9th for 4 weeks, to New York City. That's where that school is. So we'll be short 2 lieutenants, for a period of time also. I was gonna try to get all 3 of the candidates, and then there'll be one more after that into different schools, but, it's very difficult to get into first-line schools. There's been departments waiting well over a year to get there. So they had the opening, so we took the first one we could get, so. I know it's gonna be a little bit of a hardship, missing 2 of our lieutenants for, a month, but I think in the long run, it helps us out, to make sure they get through their school and we don't have everybody waiting in the wings, so. And then I just had another, quick executive session, to review some personnel stuff with the new hires.
Okay.
Thank
Make a
you.
motion.
Second, do we have a second?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. Peter, I think that's it. I think we'll go does anybody have a motion to go into executive session?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
There you go, Pete.